What's up, guys? It's Mac from Cryptstar Staking, your #1 source of staking and bacon news on the Tezos blockchain. Today, I want to go ahead and cover a topic near and dear to my heart, and that is baking hardware or running a validator node on the Tezos blockchain. Sorry, for the Tezos blockchain. Now, this tutorial is going to be about 30 minutes long. I'm going to go ahead and cover all the different options available to you. Go ahead and hop on Newegg and things like that, show you what kind of hardware is plausible. So, without more to do, let's hop into it. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and first head over to one of my favorite cloud service providers, Vultr. Okay, Vultr is a very simplified cloud service provider. It's not like, Amazon Web Services where it's kind of complicated GUI. You need to be like a sort of infra dev or cloud engineer to go ahead and use it. This is a very simple interface. You can go ahead and choose your servers very easily. Everything's laid out and it has a nice flow to it. And recently they even added a firewall and things like that, so you can have even more customization to your Tezos bakery. So when you're going to go ahead and you're going to run on the cloud, you need to make sure you secure your keys in a decent fashion. So that's why one reason I really like Vultr is because they do offer a firewall service. If you decide to keep your private keys on the cloud, it's better to go ahead and make sure that you use an encrypted private key. Do not use the unencrypted private key. And with Vultr, you can actually set up the internal networking quite easily, so that way you can have a public node and a private node. So that way your private node with your baker keys and everything like that is all on a non-internet facing VPS. So anyways, with that in mind, you can actually choose either one or two depending on your level of security. You can have a public facing node and just run all your baking stuff from there, or you can go ahead and run two nodes and it'll cost you probably double. Okay, per month. So one reason I do like Vultr is you can pay with Bitcoin, so that is a very big plus for them. I will go ahead and show you a cheaper cloud option after this. So when you're going on Vultr, the best idea is to probably go for maybe somewhere near you, or try and go for like the cheapest listing of locations. I think San Paulo tends to be cheaper. It's a new option, so you can actually choose San Paulo, run your node there, and it will cost you about $3 less per month by using their services in Sao Paulo. Now, Sao Paulo is prone to natural disasters from what I remember, so I would be a bit wary of them, and also I would be a bit wary of Tokyo, but either one is fine. Tokyo's expensive, so if you're going to go with one of the two, probably go with Sao Paulo. Anyways, there are other whenever you're choosing, the Linux software, always choose probably Ubuntu is probably the safest. It seems to work. It has all the dependencies required to run the Tezos node. This is a hardware, focused tutorial, so I want to just kind of walk you through the different options. With Tezos, you want to go ahead and use a high frequency or cloud compute. Okay, I think it was cloud compute tends to be a little bit cheaper. High frequency tends to be a little more expensive, but either one should be fine for a baker, as long as you have at least, for tender bake, you want to have at least 2 CPUs and 8 GB of RAM. Okay, so go ahead and check down here. You can check out the 2 CPUs. 1 CPU. This one has 1 CPU, so that's no good. You can't use the 2 GB of memory. You could probably run this one for the high frequency, but it's not highly recommended to only run it with 4 gigs of memory for the next upgrade. So you could run it with a snap and then take a snapshot and then just go ahead and then upgrade to this one. It looks like it's a bit expensive though. So let's go ahead and check out the cloud compute per month. Sao Paulo, it's fine. Use Ubuntu and 20.04. So it looks like their pricing is a little bit more than it was a couple days ago. Interesting. Seattle. Is it? Oh. Okay, so this one, yeah, it's $40 a month. So it looks like the pricing might have gone up from before. So you can run this one, the 2 CPUs, 4 GB of memory. This will run fine on the current Tezos node requirements, baker requirements. However, you should probably use this one. It's $40 a month. And yep, if you want to support the channel, you can go and use our referral link. It's I'll go ahead and leave it in the description. Also, since it's kind of an expensive option, I'm going to show you a cheaper option, and they actually have a Black Friday special going on right now. So this is also a very highly recommended option. For the same price, you can actually get a dedicated cloud server. Let me see, which one was good? To be honest, I think, oh wow, these are really cheap. Okay. Let's see how cheap this is now. Sorry, it's my browser's in Japanese. I didn't set the locale yet. So, let's see. 16 gigabytes of RAM, 244 gigabytes. This is actually, when you click on the next page, it actually looks, I think it gets cheaper on this next page here. So, no, it doesn't get cheaper. Never mind. Which one was it? So let's go to all dedicated servers and check out the ones with 16. Oh, looks like it disappeared. Oh, here we go, here we go. You just scroll all the way down to the bottom of the page, and you can see we have 16 gigabytes right here. This one says from $59 a month. Then you right click on it, open up in a new tab, and actually, secretly, it is only $31 a month. Ooh, that's about half the price of the other one, and this one has 2 CPUs. This one will definitely be good enough to run your Tezos node. Plus, it's a dedicated server, so if you want to run other stuff on there, you can, no issues. Now, another really cool thing about turnkey internet is that, let's go ahead and head over to Newegg. So with Newegg, let me see, they have you can buy like a Intel NUC, and I just bought one personally. I'm going to use this. I'm thinking about migrating our bakery, or at least having a backup baker, using a turnkey shared rack space. So you can buy one of these Intel NUCs. This is a really nice one right here. This $699 one. This one's got an i7 and it's bare bones. Okay, this one's fine too. I mean, pretty much any of these NUCs will run a Tezos node fine. And another really cheap option if you want to be a long-term baker, and that's honestly what I recommend. I don't recommend going into this for the short term because the ROI will go up only as the Tezos price goes up. So I would definitely recommend doing this later. Keep doing this long term. So if you want to go ahead and you don't want to have any hardware issues, go ahead and just do this option I showed you just now. This is the cheapest. This took me quite a while to get to this page. It's a really good deal. Sorry, not this one. This one right here. 12-month price, $31 for dual Intel Xeons, 2.66. I think this might be a mistake because you look here and it's actually $59, and then you look here and it's $32. It's kind of like they must have messed up somewhere. So yeah, I would just grab that as soon as you can until they sell out. If before you buy the hardware. Now, if this is all sold out by the time you see this video or the Black Friday deal is over, I recommend going to their Colocation. And with Colocation, you can use. I'm going to talk about this after I show you the different specs and everything. So Colocation, you can buy one of these like 1U racks, and then you can actually create the server. You buy this and all the parts for it. You put it together. You install the OS. Then you ship it to them, and they'll rack it for you, and they'll have power and everything like that. You don't have to worry about giving it internet or anything like that. You can be a roaming Tezos baker. And the nice part about this option is that you can install something that's called a Ubico HSM, and with the Ubico HSM, you can just plug in this little tiny USB, and basically this will hold your private keys for you, and nobody can take it off. 2.0. So with this one, Gazul, right? Sorry, I can read the Japanese. So basically, you plug this little USB into your computer, and this stores your secret keys, and nobody can take the secret keys off. Now, you do have to run a software that has like a password on it to go ahead and access the keys and sign things, but nobody can take the keys off of your hardware once you put it on this little device. So it's a very nice way of just kind of consolidating your risk, putting it into one box. Somebody could hack your box, but honestly, you can go ahead and just secure the box yourself and encrypt the whole hard disk, and then it's going to make it really difficult for even anybody. Even if there's like a malicious person at Turnkey Internet, they won't be able to go ahead and hack into your box if you make sure that you encrypt the hard disk. And even if they take out this little Ubico HSM, they can't get the password to access. They can't. It won't be possible. It'll take them like 100,000 years or something to go and hack this little HSM. Now, the really big downside of running this HSM is that it costs about $700. Okay, so and that's the only real good option for running this in a colocation space. If you want to go ahead and run an Intel NUC, so you can buy one of these Intel NUCs. You don't need like one of these high spec ones. You can buy this $300 one if you want. So this i3 should be fine now. And just make sure you install at least 8 gigabytes of RAM into it. Okay. So that's my recommendation. I think Tezos Baker, the hardware should cost you somewhere between $200 and $400. And if you want to future-proof yourself, spend probably about $500. Should be fine. If you want to run like a bunch of other stuff on the same device, it's fine. If you if you run everything through Docker containers, you should be fine. Could try and compartmentalize things. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and I want to also talk about the different types of security modules you can use for Tezos. Okay, so you do have something called Signatory. Okay, so Signatory is one of my favorite products by ACAD Labs. And Jevin, I think he lives somewhere in Canada. But him and his team created this software that basically allows you to sign things from the HSM Yubico HSM 2.0, or using like Azure or things like that to go ahead and have like a sort of a managed HSM, which is hardware security module service. And you can use those services, but most of them cost a lot of money. So he actually took the time to go ahead and make a sort of customized Signatory Docker container for both ARM and Intel processors, so we can go ahead and run that Signatory software on a Raspberry Pi. I ran the whole the Tezos everything basically on a Raspberry Pi with 8 gigabytes of RAM, and I think it's 4 CPUs they have, the Raspberry Pi 4.0. And I run Signatory and everything on there. So really expensive HSM security module inside of a Raspberry Pi. And then basically just had I think the Tezos node was running on 12.5 watts of power. That's why they call Tezos the echo chain, all right? So that is actually possible right now. And I think even once Tenderbrick comes out, at first it's not going to be optimized for that. But I think eventually we'll get to a point where we can run the Tenderbrick on a Raspberry Pi. I'm hoping. No, that's not a guarantee or anything. Okay. So one issue with running just to let you know, running the HSM, if somebody does hack into your machine and they hack into Signatory and they find out what your password is to go ahead and sign things, they can try and siphon off your funds while they're inside of your box. So that is a risk. If you keep it inside your internal network, or if you have a firewall set up, you do a tight firewall configuration on your Linux box on that Intel NUC that you ship to turnkey or whatever, you should be fine. Or you can just run it from your house and set up a firewall with using a router or something like that. That's fine. I use a router, and then we have basically a firewall built inside of the Linux box as well, and we also have like SSH keys and all that to make sure that everything is secure. So yeah, I mean that's pretty much it for all of my recommendations for hardware. I guess I go over the pluses and minuses of the Yubico HSM 2.0. So some of the pluses of the Yubico HSM is it's an industry-grade hardware security module. So when you're trying to go ahead and get people to put in bond to your Baker, it's much easier to convince them when you're like, oh, I have an industry-grade security module. No one's going to steal our funds as long as I use this $700 chip. Now, there is something, you can use the Nano Ledger S as well, but that's not, industry grade, that's commercial grade, and it can die over time, which means it's quite possible that like someone either pulls out the cord or something like that, or the LCD screen is going to die over time, and also requires you to input the PIN code on the device itself, which is an extra step. You don't really want to send that to a colocation service and be like, hey, can you put my PIN code into my Nano Ledger S? Because then they could just take your Nano Ledger S and take out all your funds, and there's nothing you can do about it. They can move your Nano Ledger S. However, if they move the HSM, there's no way they can access the secret key inside of it. Okay, so Also, one of the minuses of the Yubico HSM, besides the $700, it is also takes quite a while. I think they only ship from like Switzerland or something like that, and it requires a little bit more tech time involved. And if you need any help with the tech stuff, please just join our Telegram group. I can try and point you in the right direction. I figured out how to run it on ARM and on Intel processors, so there's builds for both. You don't have to worry about it. And both the HSM, the Yubico software, and the Signatory both run on either type of processor. So we're actually fine on both fronts right now. Okay. And just like I said, you have options of running on the cloud. So like I said, you can use Vultr, ease of use, nice firewall, easy networking, or you can use the cheaper option of the turnkey internet. Okay. And like I said, turnkey internet has this really, really great deal. This one's a bit expensive, okay? I know, $550, but this one can run anything. Now, there's also other cloud servers. You could run this on a Vultr VPS server. The VPS servers are also very cheap, okay? So we have this one right here. It's only not $10 a month. So cheap, so cheap. Now, for 3 times the price, you can get a dedicated server for $30 a month, which is ridiculously cheap. But this is also a big recommendation if you just want to be super cheap. And you can get this one started up in about 30 minutes. So I highly recommend using this one if you want to go ahead and stick with baking through Tenderbake. This one is a fine option for you as well. So this is definitely the cheapest option as well. Now, the most secure option would be spending $20 a month and getting the colocation option, and going in and putting your Yubico HSM in there. Okay? So let me see. Like I said, my highest recommendation, if you're going to do long-term with multiple bondholders, you go with the colocation, or you run it at your house with the Yubico HSM. If you're running a baker by yourself, or maybe one other friend, go ahead and use the Nano Ledger S with a baker, just a normal NUC, Intel NUC with 8 gigabytes of RAM and 2 CPUs at your house. It's fine. You don't have like a bunch of other people who are depending on you. That's what you can do. If you want to go ahead and have a really easy to use setup, have a very good uptime and things like that, I would go ahead. Well, I mean, Turnkey has really good uptime. No, nothing against them for that. But the ease of use is their sort of, what do you call it? Their interface, their user interface for logging in, SSH, things like that. They don't have nearly as much configuration. You have to go ahead and manually put in your SSH keys. You have to go ahead and manually set up the internal firewall. They don't have a managed firewall service, so you don't have like an external firewall that you can manage through a GUI. So you have to do everything within inside the Linux box, which is, it's fine, but there are it just requires more tech work. But if you don't have the time and you have the money, definitely use Vultr. Okay, so that is that is it for the tutorial today. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you all next time.
Bro, we need to pump it. Everybody go to Twitter and hashtag the things, pump it, pump it real good. We need a good pump. Everybody deserves a nice Tezos.